I want to welcome everybody back. This is the second and final presentation for the day. I hope everybody has had a nice break. Let's open with a word of prayer. Holy God, we thank you for the privilege of friendship and fellowship. For all those people that have made an effort to be here in person, I want to thank you. They've made this day a joyous occasion. Some have travelled locally, some from very distant places. And we appreciate all the sacrifices people have made to be here. We ask that you would also join us, that you would fill this room with your presence, that you'd speak to our hearts and our minds. In Jesus' name, amen. So, we began by addressing a question regarding the 8th head of Revelation 17. Within the first few moments of the study, I think we established, hopefully to everybody's satisfaction, that there is no 8th head. So when we deal with the 8th, we have to deal with it in a very unique, different way. So within the first few minutes of the study, I think we demonstrated that there is no 8th head. So we have to try to deal with that subject in a different way. When we compare Revelations 12, 13 and 17, we understand it's talking about a singular entity, the same entity, and when we review, in fact, all of those chapters, so we've established 7 heads, not 8, that we can compare chapter 12, 13 and 17. They are a repeat and enlarge. And that when we look at these chapters, we have to see what the word I've used is a panoramic and dispensational. We have to look at them from both perspectives because both of those perspectives are given in the chapters. You're required to understand this story singular at both levels from both perspectives. But when you do that, it can become confusing and you can make mistakes. We saw, we didn't prove, that 7 is a symbol of completeness, and 8 is a symbol of new or resurrection. And those two become important based on what we've said already and as we move through this study. We saw that in each of the chapters it's not only 7 heads, there are 10 horns, and we've not discussed the horns. In a previous study, I was asked a question about crowns. They're shown in chapter 12 and 13, but not 17. And again, that's not a subject that we've addressed. So we began to explore the idea of one beast with 7 separate sequential heads. We came up with the following model. This is the counting of the heads, the dispensations, and we said that there's a head and a beast, in each one. And in each dispensation, the head and the beast were alive. But we're questioning what's going on in the dispensation that we'll call 6. We agreed that despite there being a panoramic view, there's a dispensational view as well. And when we take the dispensational view, we want to understand what dispensation we're in. So there was some discussion about that. And we agreed, I believe, that there are 3 dispensations: past, present, and future. And you could see this from the perspective of a head, and that would be from verse 10, this is Revelation 17, and the beast, which would be from the perspective of verse 11. When you count heads, this was the dispensation of the 5th, 6th, and 7th. So this graphic here is the same as this graphic here. They're the same. Any questions, or anybody needs some clarification? Okay, so we then agreed that this waymark was 1798. And we looked at Revelation 17. We've got 10 and 11 here. And we also looked at Revelation 13, verse 3. I asked the question in Revelation 13:3. It says there was a head that was dead. And I asked what. Is that good? A head that had died, that was dead. And I asked what head number that was. And we all eventually agreed that it's head number 5 that it was referring to. And then I asked where we were dispensationally in those 2 chapters, 13 and 17. And we all agreed that we're in the 6th dispensation. Most people come to the conclusion that you're right on the cusp between 5 and 6. But you're definitely in 6, whether you're at the cusp or not. So maybe you want to just say where you're in 1798. Maybe you prefer if I just did that. And being here, you can look back and you can also look forward. Any questions? Okay, so if we've agreed on all of that, we began to explore this issue. But I just want to go over it and make sure that we're in agreement. Even if we... Go ahead. Even if we don't come to a conclusion. Just want to reiterate, we're discussing all of this on the pretext of answering the question about the 8th head, which doesn't exist, by the way. So we know that. So we want to try to understand what we can learn from this 8th. And the reason why that becomes significant is connected to what we're discussing now. So let me ask you, if I were to ask you very simply to give the answer now, if I said, what is the 8th head? What would you say now? So just put your hands up so someone can come to you. To remind you, this is the graphic that we have. If you need me to go to a graphic, I'll do that. Or if you need me to go back to study number 1, I can do that too. So tell me in your own words, really simply, in a sentence or two, what is this 8th head? We've already given the characteristics of number 8. Something new and resurrection. And we could understand resurrection in different ways. It could be a person who wasn't doing anything, perhaps unemployed, and then at a particular point in their life, They get a new job. Same person, new job. And this job is so phenomenal, this person becomes someone different. You could think about it in terms of health. They were unwell, and now they're well. They recovered from cancer. And they would say to you, I'm a new person. So this idea of new and resurrection can have many connotations. Tell me what the 8th is, somebody. Natasha?
Le 5e.
The 5th.
So you're saying the 8th head is the 5th head. Okay?
I would say the 8th is the 7th, the future.
I'm going to go back to Natasha in a second. What's your argument, Tamina?
I know it's the 7th.
Oh, who's doing it?
Natasha?
Okay.
She made a mistake.
Oh, okay, you made a mistake. Okay. Okay, so you're both saying the same. Okay, so you won't have to bother. Anyone else? On this side? No one has any clue of what the 8th is after all the studies last week and this morning? Or you're just shy? Come on, Marilyn, you must have an... You did the study.
So I give an answer, the 7th. But the 7 is also the 5th. So the 8 is the 5 and 7.
It is 5.
C'est le 5e. Is the 7th. But the 7th is the 5th.
Okay. So does this describe what you said? The 8th is the 7th and the 7th is the 5th. Is that what you meant, Natasha? Oh, sorry, I thought you'd finished. Carry on. No, carry on if you...
Alors, attends. If the 5th equals the 7, and the 7th is the 8, so... Alors, if the 8th is the 7th, and the 7 is the 5th, then the 8 is also the 5th. But the same in the characteristic.
Okay. Is Natasha?
So I really want to say that the 8th is the 7th.
So can I put equal then?
But I recognize that the 7th has the characteristic of the 5th. but... Ah ben, dis-le.
Mais je ne dis pas que le 7e égale le 5e.
But I'm not saying that the 7th equals the 5th.
Ils ont les mêmes caractéristiques.
I said they are the same characteristic. If we are staying in the head.
I'll use approximately there. Equals and approximately. Okay, any other points? No, we'll go over to that side. Someone had to...
Oui, David. So I'm a little bit disturbed by something.
Disturbed?
Yes.
Okay.
Worried or disturbed.
Which one?
Oh là là. So when he quote in verse 11, she's coming from the 7. So do we talk about a panoramic view from Babylon up to the 7th? Or shall we associate it only to one kingdom?
Does everybody understand the question? Put your hands up if you don't understand the question. Okay, so the question that David's asking, we didn't address. We didn't address that because we didn't read the part B of verse 11. We didn't read the second part. So let's do that now. Unless someone else has got any question about, or they're going to give what they think the 8 is on this side. Nobody? Pascal? No? Nobody else? Okay. So let's have a look quickly then at Revelation 17. I'm going to call it 11b. We got to the 8th. We finished that. And then it says, and I'm going to add some words in, my own words. And the 8th head is of the 7. So I'm going to say 8 is of the 7. Everybody okay with that? So, depending on what, if you go to a contemporary version, they say something quite similar to the King James, which is what's on the board. So I don't know what it says in the French or Spanish. So I'm going to add a word in and you tell me if this is okay. So I'm going to add a word here, 1. That's David's question. Is the 8th one of the 7 or just all of the 7? Have I rephrased your question accurately? Is it all 7 or just one of the 7? So that's what he was asking. And we didn't address this part of the verse. Is of the 7. And then it says, and goes into perdition. So can someone tell me what perdition is? So someone says destruction. Miriam said destruction. So if we're okay with that, depending on which word you want to pick up, you could go for death or destruction. Perish. Are you okay with that, David? Yeah. So forget the one at the moment. This eighth is connected to the 7 heads. We agree with that. We don't know which one, and we don't know if it's all of them. Yep. Then the last part, which is part C, I'm going to call this. It says, goes into perdition. So I'm going to rewrite that, and I'm going to say, goes to its death. Does anybody want to rephrase it, or they don't like what I've done, or they think it's not accurate? You've got to check in your own Bibles to see if you agree with what I've done. So this is the King James, and this is me. If you're happy with that, that's what it means. Goes to its death. So, if that's the case, then we are in number 6. We agree with that? So, someone said we could put death or die. But the word perdition, it has a connotation. Because you could die for many reasons. Old age, ill health, or an accident, or you could be murdered, or suicide. I can't hear you, sorry. Punishment, sorry, yes, punishment. So I think the context of perdition is punishment. Okay, so you're going to die for a reason. You've done something wrong. Okay, so we know that. So punishment means you've done something and now you're going to die for it. We're in number 6, and it says, when you're at number 6, what's happened already? What's already happened? More than the deadly wound. Natasha?
Les autres, c'est quoi? The over are not there. The overheads are not there anymore.
Which other ones?
Those who are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So 5 are already dead. So because we know 5 are already dead, and we're at number 6, when it speaks about what's happening in verse 11, it says it goes into perdition, which is either present or future. Because the ones that are dead have already gone to perdition. So we can be sure, I think, you need to be sure, that number 8 can only be which heads? 6 or 7. Because the other ones are already past. Are we okay with that? Okay, so we know a couple of things. We know 8 is of the 7. And we know it's going to die because of it's going to be punished. Let me put it that way. So we know it's not all of the 7. It could be 2 of the 7. So you have to ask yourself, can we put the word 1 here? Or could we say 8 is 2 of the 7? So the question now is, which head number is number 8? The graphic that we have here, do we all agree that it cannot be number 5? Why can't it be number 5? Because it's already dead. That's what was said? Maybe. I want to remind us, in Daniel 9, which verse? 26. In Daniel 9:26, what do we know, Shemaine? Since you gave the verse.
3 dates.
3.
Dates.
What's that word again?
DATES.
3
dates.
So we don't know 3 dates. What do we know from verse 26?
Qu'est-ce qu'il dit? They're going to... Non, the perdition. Non, il n'y a pas un truc de perdition.
26. Après 62 semaines, un oint sera tranché et il n'y aura pas de successeur.
Online, they're all whispering here.
C'est la partie B chez moi.
Confirming.
Et sa fin arrivera comme une inondation.
Ah, the end will be like inundation. I don't know.
No. Sorry. Now we have to get our Bibles out properly.
Attends, I don't know.
What was my question?
What do you know in Daniel 26? Ah, Daniel 9:26.
Okay. We know that 5 died. So I'm saying I don't think the 8th can be the 5, the 5th, because it's already dead. Someone might disagree in a minute. Anybody going to help us with 9:26? Okay, I'll do it then. 9:26.
Like a flood, mais c'est pas ça. You said.
Sorry, 9:27. We'll do 9:27. No, yeah, you all knew the answer. 9:27. I think Tremaine gave us 9:26. It wasn't. I'm innocent.
It will.
Okay.
So you're waiting for my answer.
Yes.
It will be. It will go to his end.
Okay.
It will be punished. The desolate will be. Désolé.
So
I
at
don't
the
know
very
comment.
end,
Yeah.
it says, "And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate."
Yes, the desolate. Yeah.
The last part
La
of 27.
conscience.
So I assume, or I hope, that you're all aware, again, I don't know how it translates in the French, but it's not upon the desolate, because that would infer the victim, someone who was desolated, the victim. It's not a very good translation in the English. It's pretty well established, definitely with Adventists, that the actual word is desolator, the perpetrator. We all okay with that? I'm hoping most of us have heard that. So the person who is the perpetrator, they will be punished, which is perdition. And if you go to the details of that story as Shemaine was guiding us, this event, does anybody know? I'm sure several of you do. Who wants to? Joanna?
1798, no?
No? 1798, I heard it twice. Okay, so this is 1798. So the death of the desolator in this specific verse is what Miriam said, it's the fifth head. So I'm suggesting that all those five are already dead, and I don't think the eighth head of Revelation 17 can be one of them. Curtis, you had your hand up before.
When we started this morning talking about the symbology of eighth, at least one of the key ones was this idea of resurrection.
Carry on. Can you see what he's going to do? Can everybody see what he's going to do? They see it online, they see it, and the other half of the room, they've already figured what he's going to do now. Go.
So at least how I understand what resurrection is.
You and Natasha.
Yeah, me and Natasha. As is different to being born, they're two different ideas. Resurrection means something died and then came up again. With everything we know about it looking different.
Can you stop there for a second?
Sure.
Go, Natasha. Take over. Yes.
So Curtis is want to do a link with 8, that it's a symbol of resurrection. So if it's a resurrection, it could not be the 7th.
We'll just slow down.
Because the 7, it's born.
So, does everybody understand that? What she just said? Definition of resurrection. Definition of resurrection, she says it cannot be 7 now. Carry on.
Donc si je pense la pensée de Curtis, si j'imagine la pensée de Curtis,
If I can imagine Curtis' thoughts, He would like to say that the 8 could not be the 7, but should be the 5th. Curtis, is it that? Is it correct?
Half. Half correct.
Yeah.
So Curtis definitely said this. So it's either you or Marilyn. I don't mind which. Okay, so Curtis definitely said 8 is number 5. And he pointed to the word resurrection. So something has to die in order for something to resurrect. Is everybody okay with that? Let me just check something. Okay, carry on. Then, as you're going to carry on, who's doing it? Marilyn or someone? We'll help you. Natasha said 8 does not equal 7, cannot be 7. And Curtis twinged when she said that. So
Twinge, what does it mean?
it doesn't matter. Sorry, no, it does matter. He wasn't sure if he agreed with that. Okay, so with this one we've agreed, double tick. I put a double tick, but I'm going to put a question mark on that, by the way.
Il me semble qu'on a aussi mis dans une des un peu plus haut 8 et c'est la résurrection, mais c'était aussi la nouveauté.
So it seems to me that on the top of your graph we put that 8th is a resurrection, but it's also a new thing.
Tell me where to stop.
Alors dis-moi.
Okay, here? Okay. Carry on.
Donc du coup, on est dans une dynamique puisque effectivement, je comprends la pensée de Curtis.
So we are in a dilemma. True, I understand Curtis' thoughts. But we also say that the 8th is something new. So we can look to forward in the future and see the 7. But before, I said that the 7th equals the 5th. Because we are able to see the characteristic of the 5th into the 7th. So what should be resurrected is not the form, but the characteristics that come back. It's new because it's not on the form, in the structure of the 5th. Pardon.
So I've got all of that. Tell me what to put here about the 8. Is there any more information about the 8?
So I remain on my previous thought. So 8 equals 7th.
Equals. That's all I need to know.
But I add uh, 8 equals 7, but also seventh equal fifth, because they are the fifth are in the characteristic of the seventh.
The other way around.
Parce que les caractéristiques du 5 sont dans le 7.
So,
C'est pas ce que j'ai dit, non?
do you agree with what's on the board? 8 equals 5, 8 equals 7. That's what you just said, I think. Natasha, you agree with that? Curtis, you agree with that now? 8 equals 5, 8 equals 7.
With an asterisk on the second one. With asterisk on the second, on 8 equals 5. I don't know.
Is that the same as a question mark?
Yeah.
So I don't know what he means, but 5 are dead. And you can show that all of them were desolators, and they're all desolated, put into perdition. So how do you know it's number 5, not number 4 or any of the other ones? Is that your question? Your asterisk? If not, I want to address that and then I'll come back to you. How do you know it's number 5? Can't hear you, sorry.
Pascal, attends le micro. Ça vibre. Ce dont tu te rappelles? What I remember, that 7 is a symbol of completeness. Ça se dit? Ouais.
Le 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, en fait, se retrouvent tous dans le 7.
So that means that number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 can be found in the 7th. So for me to recap, I will simply say that the 8th equals the 7th. Because the 7 is completion of all these past kingdoms.
If I understand what you said, here, 11b, have you said 8 is all of the 7?
Non, moi je dis pas ça.
No, I'm not saying that.
Ça pourrait vouloir dire ça, mais je reste sur le fait que le 7, c'est le...
We could understand it like that, but I remain on my thought that the 7th
C'est la complétude des 5 premiers royaumes,
is the completion of the first 5 kingdoms.
et c'est une entité à lui seul, le 7.
But the 7, it's an entity by itself.
Donc je reste sur le fait que le 8 égale le 7 et non pas le 5 ou le 4 ou le 3.
So I remain on my premise that the 8th equals the 7 and not the 1, the 2, 3, or 4.
The 7th.
The 7th.
So you're saying the 8th is the 7th. You're okay with that? So you're okay with this one? 8 equals 7. But you're not okay with 8 equals 5.
Attends, Pascal. The 5th is included in the 7th, but the 5th, in its own characteristic, is not complete. And she wants to stop there.
You want to stop there? Okay. I won't say anything more. Anybody want to say anything?
Muriel.
Muriel.
So in link with what Pascal just said, we saw before that the 7 is the number of completion. So that means in reality, number 8 does not exist, and this is what we have said beforehand. So the number 8 is there just to make us understand the resurrection aspect. So if we are talking about resurrection, that means that something previous has been dead. And the entity receives a deadly wound is a number, it's a 5th head. So the 5th head will resurrect. So the 7th head is the resurrection of the 5th head.
Any more? Or you finished?
Et donc, juste pour illustrer cette notion de résurrection, on dit que la 7e est aussi égale à la 8e.
So just to illustrate this notion of resurrection, that's why we said that the 7th is equal to the 8th. That is also equal to the 5th.
So you agree with what's on the board here? 8 equals 7, 8 equals 5. Yes? You have to think about that.
T'as dit quoi?
Oui, je suis d'accord avec ça.
Yes?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, in Revelation 17,
Joanna?
Joanna?
I'm disturbed a little bit by something.
Is disturb the right word?
Worry.
Okay.
Ben, disturbe, déranger, me perturbe. I'm thinking or I ask myself a question.
Okay.
Because the 5th is dead. But for me, the 5th is not resurrecting on the same form. So there's something missing for me that I cannot define. Pour comprendre, c'est ça? Pour comprendre, c'est ça? For me, there's something missing that I cannot define that with these missing points will make me understand better.
I was going to ask what the missing point is, but you won't know because it's missing. When something resurrects, would you expect it to look the same as it did in the original life? So you wouldn't expect it to look the same. So what's your question if you don't expect it to even look the same? Or your concern?
So it's so explanation given. There's something missing. Alors,
I'm trying to-
Pascal asks which explanation. Which point on the explanation that miss? So in the explanation given by Muriel, I have the feeling that I understood when Muriel gave the explanation. The fifth will resurrected in the seventh. But she thought that Muriel was saying that the eighth will the seventh will resurrect in the same manner, same form than the fifth. Okay, so leave it. It's me who didn't understand well.
Okay. So I want to ask another question now. In Revelation 17, there's a beast. We've already established that we're in which dispensation number? 6. And we haven't established this, but I've stated it, that we're right on the, I call it the cusp, or this point here, the transition point. So I want to ask, we know there's one beast, but I've also inferred that there are 7 beasts. So I'm not asking to prove or disprove the 7 beasts. Just accept it for the moment. With this model, the beast and the head, 7 of each. So my question is, the beast of 17, what number is it? What number beast is this? When you read the chapter, what beast number is it? Knowing that we're in the present. It's beast number 6. Revelation 17, just tell me what beast number we're at.
So they said they are none because she's dead. The beast is dead.
Just want the number.
They say 5, the number 5.
Who said number 5?
David.
David said number 5. Any other options?
They said 5th because the
So
Bible says they are not.
not the reason, just the number. Who was that speaking then?
Pascal et David.
Okay, I want the explanation in a minute. Just the number. No one over here knows the number? So we've got 6.
It's 6 because
Okay.
she said it exists.
So I've got numbers 5 and 6. Okay, so let's look at some verses. Pascal, you want to give a reason?
Attends,
You
Pascal.
changed to number 6? So David's still at number 5?
Non, mais moi, c'est passé, Natacha, le micro.
Just a number. not explanation of why.
Maybe I didn't understand well your question. Could you please repeat it?
When you read chapter 17, it says there's a beast. You agree with that? I just asked you what beast number it is. It's not. I'm not trying to trick anybody.
So it's true. Shh.
Just a number.
So, il veut juste le nom. He doesn't know.
So you don't know what number. It could be number 1. So you do know something. Give me the numbers you think it could be.
So I will say 6.
Okay, so everyone's on 6. So we'll go to Revelation, we'll go to verse 3. Verse 3. I saw a scarlet-colored beast. 17:3. I saw a scarlet-colored beast. So with that clue, scarlet-colored, tell me what number the beast is. So now we've got a 5. Any of the 6s changed their minds? I don't know where we're at.
So Rosemary says she did not understand well the question.
You don't understand the question?
And
1 second.
I thought it was number 6 because I didn't understand well your question.
What was my question? Was my question confusing to somebody? In Revelation 17, there's only one beast mentioned, only one. And I just asked what number beast that was. No, I got you, but she said, I'm just waiting for someone else. No? We had a couple of 6s before. Have any of the 6s going to change? Now, scarlet-coloured. Does that change anything for you? None of the 6s change? Yes? Okay, maybe I'll reframe it. Does everybody agree it's beast number 5? Okay.
Raymond, elle veut parler. Tu veux parler?
So,
Ah, non, non.
we're in the dispensation of 6, but the beast that we're looking at is number 5 beast, the one before. I wasn't tricking anybody. Tell me if you're not okay. Besides Curtis, for the moment. For the moment.
Okay, I'm a little bit disturbed, huh? Confused. Because we are in a six dispensation. The beast that we see in verse 3 seems to be number 5. But verse 10 tells us that she's died.
The last bit?
She deaf. Number 5
Got
is dead.
What are you confused about?
But I will say that we see the number 7.
You see number 7, beast.
Tu vois la bête?
Where? Which verse says this is the 7th beast? You're going to translate? Or I don't know what you're saying.
Pardon, can you repeat? Can you repeat?
Chaos.
Répète. Qu'est-ce que t'as dit? Qu'est-ce que t'as dit? Hein? Excuse-moi. Oh, she was in the previous thoughts.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Can you go down?
Up or down?
Down, she said.
Up? I'm going up.
Bah, je sais pas. So I agree to say that it's the 5th beast that receives the deadly wound. So the beast number 5 is dead. Is it possible for the 6th entity to have a head without a beast?
Okay, so we will try to answer that question.
On-
But my question was, there's only one beast in the chapter. Hopefully we all agree. Tells you what color it is. Scarlet. And based upon your previous upbringing, what number? Are we okay? Okay, so hopefully we will agree you're at number 5. So I know it's confusing, but these chapters seem straightforward, but they're not that straightforward. So the reason I asked that question, so I want us to go to verse 8. So in verse 8, it says, the beast that you saw, what beast was that you saw? The scarlet beast, number 5. That's the only one you saw. Didn't see beast number 1. There is a beast number 1, but we never saw that. We never saw 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 7, or 6. We only saw 5. The beast that you saw is not alive today. Today is the present. It's not the 21st century in which we live. It's this present, number 6. Everybody okay with that? The beast that you saw, number 5, is not alive and shall ascend. That's code word for resurrect. So number 5 will resurrect out of the bottomless pit, the grave, and then what will happen? It will go into perdition. Future. So in the future, which is not the present, going to resurrect, do something bad, become a desolator, and then get punished for it. Are we okay with that? So we've tied up verse 8 and 11. And we can answer, I think, categorically, that it is one of the 7, and it's actually number 5, and in the future, when it resurrects, and in its resurrected form, it will be number 7, because that's all you've got. Then once it's done its work, it will be punished. Curtis.
So I agree with everything you've said. When I had said there's a asterisk, you have it as question mark. It was, I think, to answer a question that came up earlier. And I want to use a Bible verse to do that.
What was the question?
Confusion about this resurrected entity.
Go ahead.
1 Corinthians 15, verse 42. 42. 15, verse 42.
You want us to check that?
Yeah.
Or you know?
42 and 43, yeah.
1 Corinthians chapter 15, it's on the board. 42 and 43. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power.
And the point that I want to make about that is that this thing that we said has died, it doesn't look like, when it resurrects, it doesn't look like what died. It comes up better than it was before. So it's going to look different. It's going to do its job better. And then in verse 44, which we didn't read, it says that a natural body dies and there's a spiritual body that is the resurrected manifestation of that. And so that's my caveat to saying 8 equals 5. Yeah.
So, if we can summarize, we know that we're in the dispensation or the history of number 6. But the imagery that we see is of a beast that is number 5, the one before. So, why would we want to do that? God, I mean. Why would God want us to be in a dispensation that is not about the story? Because the whole story is about the beast before and the beast that comes. And there's this gap in between, which is where we are. So maybe we don't fully understand the mind of God, but both in chapter 13 and 17, God is going to use this same model, past, present, and future, to show that the future is the same as the past, to such a degree that we can classify it as the resurrection of the past. And then God is very specific to tell us what gets repeated, because not everything is getting repeated. It's specifically the fifth compared to 1, 2, 3, or 4. There seems to be something different about number 5 compared to the other 4. And we already know what that is. We know the answer to that when you go to Daniel 2. Because you have a statue that is in 2 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, all metal. And when you get to number 5, it changes to metal and clay. So we know that even though everything is the same, it's a singular beast, there's something different about number 5 compared to the previous kingdom. And you know the Adventist understanding of number 5. 42 months, 1260. What happens in Europe, the old world, the European kings, all of that story. Church and state. And you know the story that history, that cauldron, creates 2 revolutions, one on this continent and one in the Americas. And regardless of the success or failure of those revolutions, the purpose of those revolutions were to fight or push against the history of the 5th dispensation. This church-state relationship that's unique because it hasn't happened before in the first 4 kingdoms in the same way. And what these chapters predict is the dynamics of number 5 are going to come again. And that's the calling or the raising up of Adventism. That's why we were raised up. To first understand and then warn that the dynamics of the 5th head specifically are going to come again. And that's why it uses this idea of resurrection. That's why it borrows the number 8. And this will happen after the revolutions have come to an end. For whatever reason, society no longer appreciates the fruit of those revolutions. And there will be a backlash, which will be the 7th kingdom, which is the same as the 5th, and we would say a resurrection of that 5th. Hence the number 8. So I can't remember who asked the question, but I hope we've answered at least that part. What we haven't answered, for those who have paid attention, is the story of number 6. And to be honest, Number 6 is the important history. To understand the dynamic of what's going on there. I put a question mark. In our last study, we said the head was alive and the beast was dead. And what we need to try to understand is firstly if that is correct and what it means. What we do know is that there, after the death of number 5, something goes to its grave. So we know in the history of the 6 there is death. And then life again. So we need to try to understand this history better in order to understand the times in which we're currently living. We need to understand why there was a rejection of these revolutions. Remember, the revolutions were created to separate religion from government, to express it a different way. We had to have a different form of government. Now, we like to call it a democracy, but we all should understand it's a republic, because there are different types of democracies that you can have. And this was a republic that we're speaking of. We shall have many questions, but I hope we've settled the question of number 8. And we haven't really dealt with the issue of number 6. And that's the important question. It always has been. Let's pray. Holy God, we thank you. It's always a blessing to be able to work together and come to a common understanding of the truth. Thank you that you have blessed us, that we've come to what I understand to be a clearer appreciation of the truth. As we try to absorb and understand for ourselves the story of the 8th kingdom, help us to see that this understanding opens a door to the 6th. In Jesus' name, amen.